Hey there, I'm Rye Myers, your Broadway and Entertainment BFF, and you're watching Live with Rye. Thanks so much for tuning in. It means the world to me, and I truly cannot thank you enough. And thank you for being here through seasons 1 and 2. As you know, today is the season 2 finale of Live with Rye, and I'm just so thrilled you're here and so thrilled that you all are joining us, and cannot wait to see what season 3 brings. If you have guest recommendations for season 3, please reach out and let me know. Would love to hear them. Do me a favor, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and subscribe to my YouTube channel below so you never miss an episode of Live with Rye. Smash that subscribe button. It would mean the world to me. It helps the channel, and you're also helping me out as well. So would love if you'd hit that subscribe button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, I can't do this without your help. I love being able to interview some of the best people from the entertainment and Broadway world, and can't do it without you. So if you are so inclined, please go to ridethenewsguy.com or scan this fancy QR code and make a donation. And whatever you're able to give, I believe the minimum is $5 through PayPal. It would mean the world to me. And you're supporting the show. You're supporting my platform of positivity and all good news only in the Broadway entertainment and pop culture world. And there's so much more to come, and I can't do it without you. So again, ridethenewsguy.com/donate or scan the fancy QR code. You'll also see it scrolling across the bottom of your screen as well throughout the show. And with that, let's welcome my very special guest to help close out season 2. He is the creator of the new musical called Edge of the World, which is written by him, Ethan Slater, and Nick Blaemire, which will be released on Broadway Records on August 6th. Please help me welcome the incredibly talented Ethan Slater. Hey, Ethan.
Hey, Rye. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing all right.
Thanks so much for doing this. I appreciate it. How you been holding up?
Been holding up, pretty well considering. It's been an interesting year, as you well know, year and a half. And I'm currently in this weird sort of liminal space, as you can see by my blank wall, which is that I'm moving. And so like everything is blank walls here. Which is a pretty weird place to be in, but it's all good. There's a lot of positivity on the horizon.
Yes, there is. Well, that's wonderful to hear. Well, let's get started. Where did the inspiration come from to write Edge of the World, this new musical that you're working on with Nick Blaemire? And for those of you who saw the promo ad, unfortunately, Nick had something come up last minute, so he's not able to join us today, which is totally okay. We have Ethan instead, but just wanted to make that programming note.
Yeah, Nick wishes he could be here, but Edge of the World is something that we're really excited about. The album comes out on August 6th. And the show itself is about a father and son, and they go to live in this remote area of isolated Alaska, where the boy is raised using his imagination to sort of cope with his loneliness, the loneliness of the surroundings. And as he grows up there, sort of the world that his father built for him starts to crumble, and he starts to see things for as they really are. It's like a pretty fun show, but tackling some pretty big issues, I would say, in some ways. And the idea came to me. I started writing songs from Edge of the World years ago, and I wrote a version of it that is that I invited Nick to read and asked him if he would actually help me out. He and I had met working on SpongeBob, the development process of SpongeBob. And I just love Nick. He's a great friend. And he's also an amazing writer. And I was like, hey, would you mind diving into this with me for just as a friend? And he did. And he was like, hey, I think I could really, he was like, I really connect to this story. It means something to me. And I think I could help you shape it. And so we started working together on it. Which was amazing, which has been such a good experience. And we've created something that I'm really excited about. And then of course, I was in rehearsals for a show and the world shut down, and it sort of looked like we weren't going to be able, Nick and I were looking forward to developing Edge of the World further as a stage musical.
Yeah.
And that had to take a back seat for obvious reasons. But we decided that we didn't want to stop working on it. We wanted to keep working on it. And one of the ways that we wanted to do that was to make this concept album that we'd been talking about. And that's what we did. We had played some of the music live and had, gotten some sort of interest in it, and teamed up with Broadway Records, who have been amazing. And made the concept album. And so we think of it, it's something that we're really proud of. It is Edge of the World. It's also this sort of step in the development process of bringing this to the stage. And so hopefully it's something that you all will, get to know and love. And then, sometime down the line, you'll get to know and love it in a different form as well.
That's amazing. Well, was it recorded during COVID?
Oh, yeah. It was so intense. So I am living in Los Angeles. We had Nick is over in New York, and Lily Cooper is on the album. She's amazing, and she's recording in Manhattan. And then, Norbert Leo Butts, who is the best, was on location shooting a TV show. So he was recording it from Vancouver. Our producer who was mixing it was in Minneapolis. It was like as remote as you could possibly get. No one was in the same borough, let alone the same state.
Wow.
And yet, like, one of the things that was really amazing about it was that this is a really intimate show. And when we first talked to Norbert, he'd listened to the demos and he was like, I love this music, guys, but like, I think it's really important that it feels like we're all in the same room, like doing it together. He was like, that's something that's so beautiful about this show, and that needs to be captured on the record. And like, it's not worth doing if you can't. And we were like, we totally agree. And so that was the challenge of it, was like, in a time of disconnect and isolation, finding a way to feel like we were in the same room and really connect. And I think we did. Like, I feel really, not only did it bring me a lot of joy and connection during the time, it also, I think, comes through on the record.
Well, that's great to hear. And when the record is released on August 6th, will it be released across streaming platforms as well, or just the album itself? Where can we find it on August 6th?
Yeah, it should be anywhere you listen to music, really. It'll be on Spotify, on Apple Music. I bet it'll be on that YouTube channel, anywhere you listen to music. And then on BroadwayRecords.com, you can go there and you can purchase it there, which would be awesome if you can. And if you can't, all good, go stream it.
Amazing. Well, you heard it here. Go to BroadwayRecords.com or stream it. Support this new album. I'm really excited to listen to it. And we have, actually, before we go on, we have some people in the comments who are also very excited. You've got quite the fan base here. We've got quite the excitement. We have Chloe, who's excited to hear the album. We have lots of hi, Ethan. So you have quite a fan base here joining us, but a lot of people who are saying they're very excited for the album, and people listening on Spotify and everything in between. So
amazing.
Yeah, just wanted to acknowledge them and say thank you for commenting, and that you'll have people who are definitely going to be purchasing the album for sure. So you've got quite the fan base going in the comments. I love it. So I know you said it's not autobiographical, and for you, it was a way to escape your grief. How did writing this musical do that for you? And did it help you cope with the grief that you've experienced in your life through writing this?
That's a really good question. So it's not an autobiographical show, but the inciting event of it is that this young boy, this 6-year-old boy's mother dies. And so his father, in their grief, sort of takes them away. And obviously that's not exactly what happened to me. But when I was around that age, when I was 7, my mother died. And that was a really, a very big moment in my life, obviously. And it was really hard. And so I think that, I had this really funny conversation with my sister once, where she said, like, oh, it's really interesting that you've been like writing about this event in your life in a million different ways. This thing that I barely remember that happened before I really remember things. I was like 7. So, I sort of took that at face value, and it is sort of true. Everything that I write has like a little bit of that in it. Because how can I avoid it? And this one happens to have a lot of that in it. And I think it really did, writing is really cathartic, and it's very vulnerable. And so I would say that the catharsis often came from writing alone or writing with myself, and the vulnerability made it really scary. So having a writing partner like Nick, who is so caring and competent and good, and you know, a good friend and a good writer, it made that a lot easier, and made it really a doable thing to find the places where it does come from me, and the places where it's different, and those are really important. It's important that I'm not actually writing myself or someone else, but I am drawing from it in big thematic ways. Yeah.
I think that that's really important, and I'm sure it will show. I mean, in the album, you know, you have the unfortunate experience you went through, and again, I send my condolences to you. I know it was years ago, but still send my condolence that you know, have used for this. And I think when we've seen any shows in the past that have been drawn from real experience, we just see how even more incredible it is, because it's got even more, you know, it's even more raw, it's even more beautiful, it comes even more from a place of greatness, because, you know, the composers are, or the writers are experiencing it. In working with Nick, I mean, how did having another writing partner help you as well in balancing the writing and having someone else to bounce ideas off of? And was he able to relate to the piece as well, coming in the process when he did?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that was one of the things that the reason that he, you know, wanted to get into it and really work on it in a big way was because of the things that he found in it that he related to. And they were slightly different things, right? Like, he doesn't have the same experiences as me, but we had similar things and different things within the story that we connected to and that we wanted to explore. And so it really was an exciting thing to bounce those ideas off of each other. I really like working with collaborators. I think it's something that is like really valuable to me. Because while I do like to be on my own, just sort of click-clacking away, I also like to bring it to someone pretty immediately and say, like, okay, well, where does it work? Where does it not work? Let's bounce ideas off of each other. Nick is brilliantly unprecious. He's like really willing to be like, no, yes, no. And that's something that I think is really important in a collaboration, is a willingness to sort of put ego aside. And like, you know, it takes time to get there, but like, he and I have a rapport where we're not offended by wanting to cut each other's stuff. It's a good collaboration in that way, in every way. So yeah, I think that it's been sort of an invaluable partnership.
That's great. I mean, that's the best kind of partnership I'm sure you could ask for as creatives. Well, what do you hope that people will take away from this musical, from listening from the album, and also from seeing it when it is also produced on stage as well?
I hope that it's an album that sort of spurs imagination and sort of expanse, and also like allows people to think about what one another are going through, and, you know, to sort of like be in your own world, and expand that world through your imagination. I also, Nick and I have been saying, like, this is the perfect album to like take outside and like sit under a tree and be in nature as you're listening to it, and sort of let that be a part of it. Or alternatively, if that's not something that's possible for you because of where you live or because of whatever, hopefully listening to the album all the way through can bring you a bit of that nature, and a bit of that world. Yeah, so I hope people get that out of it. And also, I'm like really excited to hear what people get out of it, because as much as I know what I think it means, I'm excited to hear what it means to you all when you listen. So,
Well, I think that that's wonderful, and I really think people will take away something great from this, and I can't wait to hear what they are going to think of it. So that's beautiful. What are your plans for Edges of the World? I know that we're slowly starting to get back into live performance. We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. You know, we're like 2 months or a month and a half out from Broadway reopening. But are there any readings or planned performances sort of in the future that you're able to talk about?
Nothing to talk about yet, though, you know, there are going to be little performances of it over the course of the next little while. You know, I'm doing a concert, Broadway Buskers, you know, in Times Square. I'll be singing a few songs from Edge of the World. I think Nick Blaemire is going to join me. Maybe some other people will join me as well.
When's that?
That's September 17th.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So that's going to be super fun. There's going to be things like that happening. And then hopefully there will be some other stuff to talk about, you know, in the near future, because we are working on developing it also.
Right. So, and you've got two great producers behind you who've produced this, Bonnie and Nathan Comley, right? Bonnie Comley.
Yeah, Bonnie and Stuart. Bonnie Comley and Stuart Lane.
Stuart Lane. I always get him and Nathan Lane. Nathan Lane. Yeah, Stuart Lane and Bonnie Comley. They're wonderful. They're a wonderful producing duo. So you've got
they're amazing, and they have been so awesome to work with. They're just like, you know, the way that they're getting excited about the material and also the potential of the material. And I think, you know, we were talking about this, like, you know, we couldn't continue stage development because of the pandemic. And so we went in this slightly different model, in this way that's like maybe a little less traditional, but also sort of harkens back to the great concept albums that Nick and I grew up loving, you know, whether it's Jesus Christ Superstar or Tommy or whatever. So they were really on board for this sort of like other angle in. And I think that that's been really, really cool to be a part of, you know, this idea that accessible theater, whether it's a pro shot stage production or hearing the music, the album, it doesn't stop people from wanting to go see live shows. It only like makes people more excited about it. So it's additive and not, you know, cannibalizing or whatever. And so that's been really awesome that they sort of see the need for sort of the accessibility in there, and that's been a driving force in making this album and in Edge of the World in general.
Well, that's great. Yeah, accessibility is really important, and it's great that you have a team behind you that sees that. And, you know, we're seeing nowadays that with these concept albums or seeing something in advance, whether it's a recording of something or these shows on these streaming platforms, it only makes people want to see the performance live in person even more. You know, it makes them even more excited. So I can only imagine with Edge of the World that, you know, with how beautiful the album's going to sound, that people are going to be anxious and eager to hear it in person for sure, and to see it live on stage. What role do Norbert, Leo Butz, and Lily Cooper play in this? I know you mentioned them earlier, but what are their roles in the show?
Yeah, so Norbert plays the Henry, who is Ben's father, and he is a geologist. And he just brings so much to it. It's really so beautiful to listen to and to see. And then Lily Cooper, the one and only Lily Cooper, is playing Olivia, who is Ben's mom. And she sings this incredible song called Olivia's Song, which she's singing to her pregnant belly. And it was this amazing moment because we got on the Zoom session, you know, to work on the song, to record the song. And she was like, yeah, I just want to let you know, like, this song has really been hitting me in a new way because you know, I'm pregnant. She like stands up and she shows us, and it was like, we're like, oh my, you know, she's really pregnant in this moment. And it's like this beautiful thing, but it also was a really important thing for the song and for the show, because, you know, she has, you know, she's our collaborator, and we worked together to make it the best song it could be, and to make it the most truthful song it could be. And the fact that she was actually pregnant at the time of recording it really was a very special thing. But she's just the best. I've known Lily since college, and we did SpongeBob together, obviously, and she's just incredible, and she brings down the house on this album.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I can't wait to listen to it. I know everyone else watching and all of your fans can as well. Switching gears a bit, mentioning SpongeBob, you were a part of SpongeBob the Musical, which you know, sort of your claim to fame and everyone knows you from, and all of your other credits as well. But that was a really fun and exciting musical. what was that experience like for you to be able to play SpongeBob, this worldwide known, famous animated character, and be able to play it live on a Broadway stage? And what did it teach you about yourself as a performer in taking on the role?
Oh, it was amazing. Like, it was the best thing ever. I had so much fun, like, just surrounded by the best cast and crew, and just everyone was just incredible. And I think it's two parts, right? Like, the Broadway experience, it was my Broadway debut, and like the Broadway of it all was just like, because I've always wanted to be on Broadway. So like that whole experience was just sort of mind-blowing. And then to play SpongeBob, which is like this role that I didn't realize was a role that I wanted to play, like who wants to play SpongeBob? SpongeBob's a cartoon character. Right. But like, we came into it and the entire goal was like, okay, we have the first 2 weeks, the first 2 week workshop we did, the entire goal was just, how do we take this cartoon character, put him on stage in a way that is three-dimensional, physically, but also emotionally. And that was the goal. It was like this big challenge, this daunting task to make SpongeBob, almost human. And I think that the thing that I learned about myself from it is that I work best when I'm pushing myself past the point of what I think I can do. And I just like, at one point, Tina was like, hey, can you juggle plates? And I was like, ask me again tomorrow. And I spent all night learning to juggle plates. And I came in and I juggled the plates. And she was like, that's great. We tried the scene. She was like, yeah, the scene's not that good. Let's cut that. And so we cut it. And it's never been in. But like, all of these things, I like learned how to do back bends. I learned how to do the splits. I learned how to do all of these things for the show. And it's made me want to tackle things that I don't necessarily think I can do, because I want to be able to learn how to do them.
Wow. That's big. I mean, that is big. And I think that will only help you in your career and continue to help you. I mean, that SpongeBob was able to give you that ability to, tackle bigger things and be able to take on things that you maybe wouldn't usually. I mean, and now when I was reading up about it, it's been in development since 2012. Were you a part of it from the beginning?
I was, yeah. I was at the first workshop.
Wow.
Danny Skinner, who played Patrick. Mike Dobson, who's the Foley artist, and myself were all three at the first workshop, along with some absolutely unbelievable other performers who just do incredible stuff. But it was a really amazing first workshop. But yeah, but we were there at the first one.
That's amazing. And I can't believe, wow, it was since 2012 it was being developed. It's really exciting. And I believe I also saw, I think you posted about it, or the musical was recorded. It's on Paramount Plus, correct?
It is on Paramount Plus. Check it out.
That's amazing. It was recorded at the theater?
We actually filmed it in England. We rebuilt the show, restaged it. I mean, it's the same staging, but in a different theater in England, and it was awesome. It was so fun.
That does sound like a lot of fun. I wished I had gotten a chance to see it. I didn't, but I've heard just great things about it from people who saw it, and your voice that you did for SpongeBob was so well known, and of course, Gavin and Lily and everyone, and it's really got some catchy songs. I mean, I still listen to, I have Best Day Ever on Spotify. I have Chop to the Top. These are all good, like workout, like around the house songs. They're really, because they had some great artists that worked on it.
My dad was telling me that for the last 4 minutes of his run, whenever he would go on a run, he would put on Simple Sponge, which is so cute.
I love that. Did it take you a while to master the voice and to get that sort of perfected?
Oh wow, years. Yeah, years. I showed up for the audition and I didn't do an impression. I didn't have a SpongeBob impression, so I just did the whole scene like this. And Tina was like, "Hey, that's really great. Why don't you come in a couple days and do the voice? It's really important." And so I went back and I practiced it. And we spent the next, 3 or 4 years pushing and pulling, and I would go too far in the SpongeBob world and be pulled back towards Ethan, or I would be too far towards Ethan and be pulled back towards SpongeBob. So it was a long process, but a good one.
Wow, that is truly amazing. You also were a part of the hit series Fosse Verdon. You played Joel Grey, which had a lot of Broadway luminaries in it. And what did you learn about yourself as a performer from that show? And what was it like to not only work with other Broadway stars who I'm sure you were probably friends with, but also to have the show overseen by Nicole Fosse, Bob Fosse and Gwen Verdon's daughter? That had to be special.
Yeah, that was really awesome. She was really great. Everyone that was on that set was so generous and kind and like excited to be there. It was a really fun experience. I really loved it. And I loved being surrounded by all these people trying to make something that felt so like near and dear to everyone's hearts. This like homage. Yeah, it was just super wonderful. And like getting to play Joel Grey was awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd gotten to meet him during SpongeBob, and just like one of my absolute greatest moments backstage. I had like maybe 2 or 3 like incredible backstage moments.
Yeah.
One of them was with Joel Grey, and he walks into my dressing room, and he looks around. What year is it? And I was like, 2018. 50 years ago today, I opened George M. in this dressing room. And I was like, ah!
Oh my gosh.
Incredible. And then I had a copy of his memoir and had him sign it. And,
what? Wow.
But he's just such like an absolute sweetheart. And I've gotten to have encounters with him since, which is really cool. And so to also get to play him was pretty special.
Oh my gosh. That must have been special. I mean, really. And how cool that you were in the same dressing room. I mean, the Palace Theater was home to some legends performed on that stage. So I can only imagine the other legends that were in that dressing room, before you.
Yeah. I mean, Glenn Close was right before.
Right.
It's just like it was just so there's this part on the door to my bathroom where you could see like layers and layers and layers of paint, where they had just like painted over.
Yeah.
And who knows how far back it goes, but I like to think it goes back to, to Judy.
I was going to say it could be paint from Judy's era, Judy probably maybe was in that dressing room, that's special.
Yeah.
And that was a beautiful project too, Fosse Verdon. It was, it was really great to bring someone so iconic in the theater world that I'm sure everyone has experienced in seeing Chicago or seeing, their musicals, but maybe didn't know about him, and bringing it to the forefront. It was great. I actually have a small connection to that series. I was working at the time for a background casting company and doing extras casting as an assistant, and they did the extras casting for Fosse Verdon. So I didn't work on the show specifically, but I did help sometimes, getting background actors there and stuff. And it was a period piece, so it was very, everybody needed to be fit and in the certain period, and hair had to be cut a certain way and dress a certain way.
Yeah.
They don't play around FX. They really
Yeah, intense. And who else was in that was Norbert.
Yes.
Playing Padachevsky, and Nick is also in it in Damn Yankees.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a whole bunch of everyone. That's great. Well, I know you posted too that you are in upcoming Assassins is it Classic Stage, right?
It's at Classic Stage, yeah.
When's that happening? Can you tell us a little bit more about that and when we might be able to get tickets?
Yeah, it's opening in November.
Amazing.
I don't believe an exact date has been announced yet, but opening in November.
Cool.
And hopefully tickets should be available pretty soon. I'm not 100% sure, but if you go to classicstage.org, or you find Classic Stage Company on Twitter or Instagram, there's information there, and I'm sure you can get tickets there. It's a super exciting production. We had 2 weeks of rehearsal in March of 2020, and then we got shut down So I'm really grateful that we're going to be able to come back. But in addition to that, we're coming back in a new world. And so we're fortunately starting rehearsal process over again. And we're going to really approach it differently, or, because it's a surprisingly relevant show. And speaking of doing things that like push the limits of what I think I can do, I'm playing guitar in that show. I'm playing the Balladeer, and it's John Doyle. So there's this incredible company of actor musicians. I'm playing the entire score, in addition to the unbelievable company of actors. It's just like an incredible cast. But I'm playing Sondheim on a guitar and mandolin, and fortunately, I've had an extra year and a half to practice, so that's been
that had to be tough, I'm sure. So I'm sure you were happy you had that extra year.
Yeah, not mad about that.
Yeah. What is your role that you're going to be playing in Assassins?
I'm playing the Balladeer and Lee Harvey Oswald.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And is it the same cast that was announced, or is there new people that have been added? It's the same one, same people?
As far as I know, it's the same cast, but I only know on an unofficial basis.
Nice. Well, I cannot wait for that. I know there's been lots of excitement around it, and I'm so glad that you all will be coming back. And I'm excited to see, I would love to hear what, when after you all do it, how the show has taken on a new meaning in this, in 2021 in the world we're in, compared to, maybe how you started to prepare for it in 2020 before everything shut down. It's a different time, and I'm sure it'll, as you said, it's relatable, but it'll give the musical something new.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What advice do you have for aspiring performers and also people who want to get into writing, let's say, their own musical or their own score or big piece, sort of like that?
That's a really good question. I think that my best advice for performers is be collaborative and be somebody who collaborates well with others and is generous as a performer, because those are the people that you want to work with, right? And so I want to work with generous performers, and generous performers want to work with generous performers. So I think that's my best advice. It is a community, and so putting your best foot forward in that way. And then for writers, I would sort of say similarly, like it's important to be a good collaborator, but also I would say more than that, it's important to do it a lot. Sit down and write and just do it. And you're gonna be like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is terrible. I'm doing a terrible job. And fine, get up and pace and like talk into your phone or whatever. Just come up with ideas, generate ideas, and write and finish something. Whether it's a one-act play, whether it's a feature-length play, whether it's a screenplay or a short film or TV pilot. There's nothing that can replace doing as a way to learn. And so, that's not, after you've done some learning.
Right.
So if you're somebody who's trying to write and is reading books on writing or taking classes or whatever, the next step is you just do it. Sit down and do it.
That's great. Such good advice. And I hear that often. I think it's so important, to just do it, but also to be a good collaborator, to be somebody that people want to work with, to be kind. That's what I hear often. And I think it's really important. And, as someone being in the industry like yourself, you see it, when you're kind, when you're collaborative, when you do it, people want to work with you, and people, you get things by doing that, you get projects that way.
Yeah. And I would say also like the ability to, work on things that are generated by yourself, so you're not waiting on other people, is also good. So you can bring in your people and your friends and find things to do together, even if it's just a reading or of something. Get on Zoom or meet in a studio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, you've inspired some people in the chat. So you have, people who are inspired and people who have said they're coming to see you. As I said, the chat right now for YouTube is blowing up, which is great. Well, before we go, Ethan, where can we keep up with you? Where can we follow you? Your website, social handles? Do you have them?
Yeah, EthanSlater.com, but really you should check me out at Twitter. I'm Ethan S.A. Slater. And on Instagram, I'm at Ethan Slater.
Amazing.
And so check it out. And go to BroadwayRecords.com, learn more about Edge of the World, and check it out when it comes out. Can't wait to share it with everyone. Yeah.
I can't wait for it to come out either. August 6th, make sure you're keeping tuned and watching for it. For those of you watching, you can keep up with me by following me on Instagram at Twitter at Rye_Myers. And on Facebook, I'm at official Rye Myers. And you can also visit me by visiting my website at the bottom of the screen, ridethenewsguy.com, and see everything I'm up to there, including the launch of my new production company and so much more. And for those of you watching, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so you see all of my interviews that I do and, all of my exclusive content I post. Before we go, I just want to thank everyone who has tuned in these last, 4.5 months since season 2 has premiered. It's been great. I've had some great guests. I'm thrilled to be ending it with Ethan Slater. I'll be back in the fall for season 3 and maybe a new format, new guests. But if there's somebody you want to see out there on this show, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can reach out to me on social media or through YouTube. Would love to hear who you'd like to see and hopefully get them on. So, Ethan, again, thank you so much for your time and for chatting with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rye.